What's up, guys? How you guys doing today? Holy shiznit. We have the Joel and Joel team. We got Anakin and Mr. Pearl. Mr. Pearl from Tim and Joel in the Ring and PW Unlimited. Anakin, who is a baker, a Fightful, and a game connoisseur. We're going to have people pop in and out. There's a lot of stuff happen today. We're going to start with the AEW gaming. So you guys, what did you think about the whole AEW announcement?
Who's going to go first?
I'll go ahead. It felt like a BTE bit, which at first I was kind of surprised because it's very unlike what video game stuff like this normally is. But the more it went on, the more I was like, okay, you know what? This may be a video game thing, but it's also an AEW thing, and this is on brand. And by the end of it, I was like, all right, who else are they going to have come out of Steve Jobs? Let's go. Britt Baker coming out of Steve Jobs. I was like, there's my Britt Baker. There's my Steve Jobs. There you go. That's the one I want. Notice how Cody wore the turtleneck, didn't quite cover up the tattoo. Almost did. So I don't know how well that'll work, but overall, I thought it was fine. I thought the console gaming stuff, to me, that was what I was the most interested in, and that was what I was left underwhelmed by. Because there had been a lot of hope that this game was going to be better than the WWE games have been of late, because we'd heard Kenny is a big wrestling fan. Aubrey Edwards used to work in game development, and they referenced that with the mobile game, and there had been a real desire to really make it feel more like a game and have it feel more like like No Mercy of old, which is something they referenced over and over again. They referenced No Mercy quite a few times, including bringing in, I think he was a creative director of No Mercy, bringing him into this, which all sounds good. But I kept having flashbacks to another game that was said, oh, this is going to be made by real gamers. We want to feel different. We want to feel like No Mercy. That was the TNA game, which was not good. So I'm hoping this is not going to go that route. I think they probably have learned their lessons from that mistake. But it did leave me overwhelmed or underwhelmed, because we didn't see much footage of it, and I did think this is a really weird time to make this announcement, because today the Xbox Series X and S launch. In 2 days, the PS5 launched. So there's big games that are coming out, and people talking about, you got a new Assassin's Creed game, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Ubisoft just dropped Valhalla at this, like, literally hours after the X went off. The one question about the AEW game I have is, and I don't know if both of you have the same question, is what's going to be with these consoles, with the Xbox Series X having the quick refresh rates, dramatically load times are very low with both of these consoles. Do you think the future AEW games are going to continue with that, Joel Pearl?
I think one thing we need to get out of the way right now is the fact that console game that they announced is in very, very, very early development, which means we know nothing, and so do they. They have rendered video of gameplay that they've created to pump up crowds, but until it's done, it means nothing. It can look as amazing as you want, but every game can look incredible until you get your hands on the finished product. And like they flashed on the screen, this is a demo. This is not the finished product. So with that in mind, I'm excited. It's going to look great. They have the right people behind it. Ukes has been behind WWE games since Smackdown. So there's something to say about that. Everything in mind, it's going to come down to how much say all teams have. And someone like Aubrey Edwards being there, who is a project manager in gaming, both in and out of AEW, because it's where she came from, it's where she's been, and it's where she currently sits outside of being a referee for AEW. That counts for something. And we're going to find out very soon just how much work they're going to put into it, and whether or not they're going to take their time with the game, or if they're going to just let it simmer for a bit. these consoles are just coming out now, like you said. So there might come a time, it's not going to be Christmas this year when they release an AEW game. It could easily be summer. It could be around, I doubt the same time as the next WWE release, but something opposite time frame. So I guess we'll see.
It could be a possibility, like you're saying about the release date, that they might do Christmas of 2021, because that way it gives these consoles a little bit of like a year age on it. A lot of developers in gaming, what I've seen over the years as a gaming fan, they wait. The most interesting thing that it sounds like they have in the Fightful stream that we're just coming off of right now, they did not mention anything about Steam or PC gaming at all, and they need to tap into that. So, Anakin, what do you think of that as a possibility?
Well, I mean, as far as when we'll see this, I don't think we're going to see this before 2022. They've got a long way to go before this game would be ready to ship, even by, like, let's say November, because the game would most likely come out in November to try to take advantage of the maximum amount of holiday time. Based on what we saw and what I know of game development, there's no way it's going to be ready in time. I think 2022 at the earliest is when we're going to see it. As far as your other question, I'm going to be honest with you, I completely forgot your question. Can you? I was trying to delay. Can you repeat
Rapid
it?
refresh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's something that's going to be normal with these consoles. There's been a little bit of speculation that maybe towards the end of the console is when we might start seeing longer load times start coming back in, because the games are going to be so much bigger. For the foreseeable future, that's not going to be an issue. PC. That's what you're asking about.
Yeah.
I don't have any doubt it's going to hit PC. I don't think that's going to be an issue, because nowadays, to have a big major third-party game, meaning not being made by one of the first-party console manufacturers, to have a big third-party game, which this would be considered a big third-party game, to not have it arrive on PC is just leaving out sales, because you're going to have people who prefer playing on PC, and they put money into a good PC rig, and that's primarily what they would, and that's primarily what they play on. So I don't have a doubt it's going to go on. It's going to be on there. I do think whenever this game comes out, it's going to be a game that's made for PS5 and Series X. It's going to run on Xbox One and PS4, but just judging from what I've heard of games coming out this week, the load times are going to be horrendous. So the ideal way to play these games will either be on a PC with an SSD, with a really fast one, or on one of the consoles that is launching this week. And I think you had asked a question in the Fightful chat about the Switch. Based on the way the 2K18 game ran, I don't see that happening on this. Now, there is rumors of a Switch Pro. There's been rumors for the last year that may happen in the next year or two. Maybe for that, because that's supposed to have a better processor, better fidelity with graphics. Maybe for a Switch Pro, you might be able to see this. But the Switch as it is that you can buy in stores right now, there's no way it's gonna be coming out for that. It just can't handle that.
If they go through the Switch route, it's probably gonna be something like a card game, kind of like what Dragon Ball Heroes did for Japan. They're probably gonna do the same thing when they switch it over.
I could see the mobile game coming to the Switch. That seems like something that they would do.
For me, more so, this is just interesting because this is probably going to have to put pressure, Joel Pearl, on the whole aspect of WWE now having to reevaluate their 2K contract, since they didn't have one this year. I'm thinking the contract's going to be coming up in about a year or two. So, I mean, do you think they put pressure on 2K, or they reevaluate the contract because AEW is now coming out with one?
Well, don't forget that WWE dropped Ukes in 2019, and Ukes was like, cool, we have another game already being worked on. I think we know what that game may have been now. Mm-hmm. So the point I'm trying to make here is, whatever whatever WWE Games wants to do next, they have most of the market because AEW doesn't have a video game yet. They have a game in production. There's nothing out there. There's no sales data. There's nothing for them to go on other than the fact that they're making a game. So what WWE needs to do next is nothing. All they need to do is keep releasing games and make sure that they're quality and not 2K2020. Something like Battlegrounds worked. It wasn't amazing, but it definitely saved them from the problems they were running into with 2K20. Other than that, I don't expect much. They will need to find new developers, but otherwise, they're fine.
For me, I think this is going to have them reevaluate the contract, because if 2020 was anything and the backlash of 2020 made them not want to produce a game and just put out Battleground, I mean,
yeah,
Battleground to me seemed like an interesting game from schematics and everything else, and reading all the frame rates and everything. I didn't get my chance to get my hands on it, but I think
it's fine.
I think this is going to make them reevaluate, be like, hey, we need to get up there and get better. And I can see them doing something where they do a partnership with EA and do something where it's like, the FIFA games, the Madden games and stuff like that with these new consoles, just to make because the graphic output is going to be a lot more better. The frame rate at that point will be better, and people are going to want instantaneous gaming instead of waiting for load times for 25 minutes.
Their numbers would have to be consistently rising for the WWE 2K games for anyone else to want to get in on it, or for WWE to want to shop around another deal. Because if they can just keep going the way they've been going, nothing changes. And the reason Battlegrounds came out was because they didn't want to fix 2K20, or they tried to fix it and it didn't go over so well. So they said, forget it, Band-Aid solution. And they made a great Band-Aid solution because Battlegrounds was completely different and it worked to the detriment of 2020.
Yeah. So the original deal with WWE and 2K was done February 2013. I'm reading this article from Polygon. That was supposed to go till 2017. Obviously, it's continued. So my guess is that's either another 4-year contract, maybe a 5-year. But yeah, I think for sure. I think WWE, after the debacle of 2K20, I think they are reevaluating it. I think the thing of going to EA, I think that's interesting because the UFC games are supposed to actually be really good. The main problem they have is that they don't do a whole lot of innovation, but the game mechanics themselves are sound, and that would be a different engine to use than the engine that's being used right now for the 2K game. So I could see, especially because the rumor is because EA's contract to do Star Wars games is coming up, and there's not a lot of certainty right now whether or not that contract is going to get renewed. So if EA loses the Star Wars contract, picking up the WWE contract, that's not a bad consolation prize to get.
With EA with the Star Wars contract, I think with how good Jedi Fallen Order did for them, I think they're not going to lose that contract, considering they're already trying to rush development in Fallen Order 2.
Right.
And with them, EA having a contract with, the Respawn, I mean, that would make more sense, because then they could try to tack on what people want, which is a Titanfall 3. Now, that's not a wrestling game, but I can see a possibility of doing something interesting where they cross over, something like a Space Jam kind of thing.
I don't see a Titanfall 3 happening because Titanfall 2 didn't sell well. They've got Jedi Fallen Order, they've got Apex Legends, which is doing really well. I'm not sure they're going to do a Titanfall 3, but I mean, having one of the EA teams working on the WWE game, I think would be a really good refresh for it. And you're right, Fallen Order did do very, very well. I think it actually blew expectations sales wise, and I haven't heard sales for Squadrons, which came out earlier this year, but I know it was received well. VR especially was received well. So it could be, the big issue with EA and Star Wars was the Battlefront games. The last 2 Star Wars games have been received well and at least sold well, if not really well. So I mean, yeah. I mean, if EA can hold on to that, get the WWE games and pick up that license. But I think if EA was to get the license, I think you would be in a similar situation with the UFC game. I think one year they might do a UFC game, the next year put out a WWE game, which not only helps keep the market from just getting oversaturated with games on that regular yearly basis, but also make sure that each game gets the proper time it needs to be good, especially because the next WWE game that's in that 2K style has to be good. It has to be, because if it is not good, then that series is basically going to be done. And WWE is not going to want to throw away any potential money from sales of a game. So if the next game doesn't sell well, I definitely think they are going to be looking to go somewhere else after their current contract with 2K is up.
Do you think the same thing, Joel?
I'm close to agreement there. Yeah, I can see. Again, it's going to come down to money, and if the performance lasts, if it's the same, then the 2K deal could continue. If it goes down, then they could look for other options. It's just going to come down to who's going to offer the better deal for WWE and who's going to give them the most bang for their buck. Just to put it bluntly.
For me, I think it's interesting that it could be a possibility. I mean, can you picture a WWE game with an EA logo behind it? I mean, that would be interesting. But I thought of this also throughout the whole thing. Now, just looking at some of the footage, it could be a possibility that we get. And speaking of another person, what's up, Rob? How you doing?
What's up, boy?
What's up?
So, what do you think? And Rob, you could put your 2 cents in on this. What do you think of the possibility one day AEW and WWE running Unreal Game Engine 4 for wrestling development using that engine?
As far as using that, I don't see it happening for at least another 2 years. It could be sooner, but eventually it will happen. I just don't see it happening soon.
So what do you think about the AEW announcement, Rob?
Pretty cool. I thought, just from the mobile aspect, I thought that was pretty good. And then the video game, I thought it was a good announcement. I thought they did pretty good. It's the way I look at it is better than nothing.
Yeah,
to an extent. I mean, compared to considering what we had last year for WWE 2K, anything could be pretty much better than that. So, but the fact that Ukes is getting involved, I love that aspect. And they have the right guy in charge of the video game. Like, if you had to have somebody that in there to make a decision, like when it comes to video games, Kenny Omega is the right guy, I would think.
It'll be interesting to see what Woods has to do as a reaction for all this, being a gamer first and a wrestler second.
He's probably mad that the GM game is going to come out before his, because he's been working on one with his own company for a while. It doesn't have the WWE license, but he's been working on it for at least a year or so. So he's probably just, oh, they're gonna beat me to it. Oh, and they, and they've got an actual license to work with. His has to be basically completely from scratch.
They can beat him to it, but honestly, if it's better than whatever AEW comes out with, he'll be fine. He'll be rolling in it, and he'll have, because again, it comes down, if you talk about market share, more people are going to know Austin Creed for his WWE work and for his gaming work than they're going to know Kenny Omega, the wrestler.
That's true. You had asked a question about using the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
I don't know how well suited the Unreal Engine would be, because the Unreal Engine is what powered the Batman Arkham games. It's what powered the Gears of War games. It's really good for third person like action games like that. It's really, really good for that. Grappling wise, I don't know how good of a fit it would be. It could be they're able to adapt it and it's great, But that's where I go back to, if EA gets the license for WWE, that UFC engine, they could adapt that pretty easily, I would think, for WWE. They wouldn't have to do a whole lot of work. I don't know if the UFC games, if they use the Frostbite engine, or if they're which is something EA has developed in-house, or if they're using another engine. But that engine would be infinitely better than the engine that the 2K games are using now. Because I've heard from people who play the UFC games, Jeremy has talked about it, and I know Blessing over at Kind of Funny is a big fan of them, and both of them have talked about how it feels really good. The ground game is really good. The striking is really good. There's just a few things that they wish could be better, but overall it's such a superior thing. So now that we're talking about it more, I kind of hope EA gets the license, because they could make a really good WWE game with that UFC engine, just modded a bit, just be more of a WWE feel.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. So your projections, Anakin, is that it's 2022. Joel,
At the earliest.
What's your prediction on the release date, if there is one?
On the console game?
Yep.
And I could say with 2022, but if not, they'll push to just like to winter Christmas time 2021.
What do you think, Rob?
I agree with Joel. Yeah, 2021, late 2020. Yeah, late 2021, 2022.
All right. Well, we have Jeremy Lambert coming in some point during the show, and we'll talk more about the video gaming aspect of it. Rob's like, no.
No, I'm kidding. Jeremy knows I'm a big fan.
So let's get on
your
some
Photoshops.
He's not going to be big. He's not going to be a big fan of my hat. We like going back and forth with our hockey teams.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Patriots hat, and Anakin is too. If I was wearing the jersey I was originally going to pick, I don't think Mr. Pearl would be mad about that. The USA jersey I have.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I got to get a Canadian one. My uncle is from Canada, so my
Just don't get a Leafs jersey.
He has a Canadians jersey. I'm not allowed to wear that around here, so yeah.
I'll send you Red Wing stuff. I'll send you Red Wings.
And this is coming from, and this is on camera now, and he's been saying this for months. Oh, I'll send you a Red Wings jersey if you send me a Red Sox jersey. By the way,
wait, I said that or you said that?
You and me were talking about it jokingly, and you're like, oh, I'll send you a Red Wings jersey. Yeah, I'll send you a Red Sox jersey.
I don't remember the Red Sox part.
Yeah.
I don't remember the Red Sox part. I plead the fifth on that.
Well, it's because of the fact that I was sending Sean one.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, in the bet. But the thing about it is that we had wrestling anyways, and when Jeremy Lambert, who said he'd pop in if he can, we'll talk more about the AEW stuff, more gaming and everything. So, what did you guys think of the wrestling week that was from NXT all the way until last night? And we'll talk about Full Gear since we have two prominent people who watch it.
Who's that?
You and Rob. I think Rob watched it.
I'm looking around too.
I didn't watch it, so.
Well, Rob usually is the one on the show that talks about AEW and stuff too. So I figure I'd have Joel and Rob go at it while I just sit back and just be like, okay, I wish I watched it.
Sure. Full Gear, it was pretty good. I know a lot of people gave it like out of like 10, out of like 1, from 1 being low to 10 being a high. I know a lot of people gave it like 8s, 9s, and even 10s. I give it about a 7.5, and the only reason I give it a 7.5 is it was primarily the build of the show for the Young Bucks and FTR. It was a good great match. I just think I think they messed up with the build for the card for that. Each match was good. For the most part, the Nyla match, they didn't do any favors for their women's division again. So that was a drain. And I gotta say, the one thing that I think they messed up on is they I don't know what happened, why they went so far with the Bucks and FTR. They made the Bucks look really weird in all this, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to like the Bucks. Like they made the Bucks look like jerks, for the most part, like heels. But FTR were the heels too, and then now all of a sudden they win the title, so we're supposed to like the Bucks. But it was weird. Did you find that weird, Joel?
I found it weird, but the problem was they expected you to watch Dark and BTE to figure out that the Bucks weren't actually heels.
Yeah.
The whole idea was that the Bucks were super kicking everybody, getting fined and everything leading into the match. But in the background, there was Brandon Cutler's feud with Peter Avalon, and all Brandon Cutler wanted was for the Bucks to go down to ringside and support him. They didn't, and then they did in the match that Cutler eventually won on Dark. It was really convoluted, and it didn't serve anything because not a lot of people are watching BTE, Dark, and Dynamite.
Yeah,
you've got to streamline your product. You've got to have everything in that box on the Dynamite stuff. And then if you're going to show Dark content or BTE content, get a picture-in-picture. Get something on your show on Dynamite that just plays and gets you up to speed, because it doesn't work if you're just going to flip-flop and confuse the hell out of people.
Yeah, it would take, what do you think, maybe 1 or 2 minutes of like a recap of the week for them to help their show, if they only on Dynamite, if they only show go to video once for 1 or 2 minutes, do you think that would help recap what's going on?
They could do a weekly Dark recap, but most of it won't matter. If they can do stuff that's relevant, that's all they need to do. They just need to find the stuff that they've been shooting and say, oh, wait, this actually matters to the build up to our next feud. Even the stuff with Nyla and Shida. Now, it was awful. There was no build, but at least there was something on Dark with promos cut by Vicky with Nyla Rose. That at least you could have used it somewhere to explain that the women's division had something. It was still not nearly enough, but it was still, it would have been something.
Yeah, that was one of my main problems in going into Full Gear, because if you only watch Dynamite, you're going, Nyla hasn't wrestled in a long time. Why is she all of a sudden getting a title shot? Because she said, "Oh, I'm not going to wrestle unless Shida gives me a shot." And it's like, well, that's when you go talk to Tony Khan. And you're like, "Hey, your wrestler is refusing to wrestle. Why don't you do something?" And it says something where I think Denise tweeted this out after last week's Dynamite. That was either last week's or the week before. If that was her first time watching the show and she didn't know who the champions are, she would have thought Serena Deeb was the AEW Women's Champion and not Shida. And it's like they're putting more focus on the NWA Women's title, which is like cool. Glad to see Tony Khan is willing to work with NWA when they're not doing TV right now and build their title up when they've got a title of their own that they've had for a year now that has had constant criticism of how that entire division has been booked and everything. And then, last week, they signed 2 more guys and put them up on a tag team. And so I'm part of the Mr. Warren Hayes of Discord. I went off in there when that announcement was made. I went off because it's like, really, your tag team division is how deep, and you're gonna create another tag team, sign another tag team when you need so much help with the women's division that you're having to bring in the NWA champion and the title and be working with them. Like, why were we getting an announcement of 2 more guys getting signed to AEW when Allison Kay is now a free agent? And it's like, yeah, you had her on the buy-in facing Serena, which is great, but why are you not immediately going to her and signing her and getting that deal done? Like, I don't understand why AEW has this thing of where, you'll get everything if you watch Dynamite and Dark and a BTE. I don't watch BTE. That's just not my my kind of thing. I'm glad there are people out there that like it. That's not what I want from wrestling. And the few episodes of Dark that I've watched remind me of the early episodes of NXT when it was a developmental brand, which let me tell you, that was just a lot of squashes. It was a lot of just squashes. There was enhancement. That's right, DK, spitting facts. There was, there'd be one match on there that was actually competitive, and all the rest of them were just enhancement. And that's what Dark kind of feels like to me. And somebody had pointed out, why is Dark longer than Raw is without dumb commercials?
Wow, he's going on a rant.
Which is like, well, it's great that they put so much focus on the wrestling and stuff, but they'll put 17 matches on a Dark card, and 2 of them are women's matches. So even on Dark, which is supposed to be for enhancement, they're not giving the women the respect that they should have. It is 2020. Women have main evented WrestleMania. WWE has doing bad booking, but they are showcasing their women more than AEW does. That's a problem.
This is why I wish StreamYards had a recording aspect just to go that part.
So, Anakin?
Yes.
Don't watch Dark tonight. It's literally, I think it's about 8 tag team matches.
I got warned by Evan Wright about that. Look, I like tag team matches. Okay, I do. I like tag team matches. I enjoy it. But when you've got like I think almost 20 tag teams, and you're adding another one, and meanwhile you've got several women that you legitimately can't use because they're in another country and they can't travel to you. You've got more that are still out with injuries, and you're not trying to gobble up every female free agent that there is, and instead you're going, oh, let's sign on 2 more guys and make another tag team. I'm sorry, but there's problems there. And and I know there are people out there that have been big defenders of AEW, and that's fine to prefer them, but we need to be acknowledging where they are struggling, and they are struggling here. And that's why, when Kristen Ashley asked Cody that question in the junket before, that made headlines because Cody's like, I don't really see a problem with the Nyla and Shida build. And everybody goes, really? Because there was no build. And you put more time in the FTR Bucks build, which everybody agrees was basically bad throughout the whole thing. The only reason we were looking forward to it is because we knew how good those teams were, because this had been a dream match for like 3 or 4 years now. Anyway,
so I'm not the first person to defend AEW and everything they do. I think a lot of people have seen that if they follow me on Twitter. Now, with that in mind, the women's division needs work. That is no question.
Mm-hmm.
What Cody said in that press junket was dumb. And luckily, Tony Khan the next night owned up to it and said, nope, we messed up. We can do better. It's been a year. They should be doing much better, and they're not. Mm-hmm. But at least he said it, whereas Cody danced around it. Yeah. In terms of the women that they bring in and the women that they feature, you have to remember, yes, the pandemic messed things up. It was also probably the best thing that could happen to AEW in the fact that they started looking at local North American women, specifically US based, because that's all they could do.
Mm-hmm.
But many of those women have never wrestled on TV.
Right.
So with that, you have to bring in these people, you have to bring in this talent, you have to try them out, and there's only so many times that you can do something with them. If they don't have gear that's TV ready, if they can't work like they're TV ready, and it's not about working to the hard cam, no, that's a WWE thing. It's about being able to work for cameras and at least know how to work for a television setting, and many of these people don't know how. So Dark has effectively become the opportunity not for them to just try out for AEW, but also in some cases have extended tryouts and see if down the road there's going to be room for them. So The reason for Dark being 2.5 to 3 hours has become, it is their proving ground. It is their new show wherein talent can show off and not show off, but have their tryouts. Will the women get better? Absolutely. We're seeing that now. We're seeing that over the last 5 years that women's wrestling has become much more important and become a focal point for many organizations. That said, AEW still needs to work on it, and they still need to work on developing the talent that they have. And doing things like having no build to your AEW women's title match, big problem. having the NWA Women's World Championship is great, but the fear right now is that the AEW, it's now become the women's TNT title because it's going to become that workhorse championship that's defended more than the AEW Women's Championship. So that's where I stand on that.
It's interesting that they're using from what I'm getting, Dark as their NXT, just to develop all their their talent. And the thing is that if you're gonna do that, why not just have it Dark on a regular channel instead, like TNT and then on a different night, just to give them the opportunity.
Well, there is that third hour that they've been wanting to do for a while, and we know the pandemic kind of slowed that process down considerably. I think they are regretting now even mentioning it, because now it's like every single time that there's a junket, somebody does a junket, somebody asks a question, what's up with what's up with the third hour that you're doing on TNT? I don't simply because of how long Dark is. I think YouTube is the best place for it, not only because then they don't have to worry about time limits, but also, there is less pressure if it's on YouTube versus if it's on TV. Because if you have a bad match on Dark, okay, you had a bad match on Dark, but it's not the end of the world. You have a bad match on Dynamite, on cable, and where it's a focus and people are seeing it, it's
on Botchamania.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Bingo. So, so the NWA Women's Championship, bringing that in, that, I am totally fine with that, especially because, again, there's no NWA power right now. Who knows if there ever will be again. Getting that title to have some recognition and be seen on a regular basis is nothing but good to make that title feel important, but it should not come at the expense of your own championship.
What do you think about all this, Rob?
I pretty much agree with it. AEW Dark, I've probably watched maybe, I don't think I've ever watched it all in full. I've watched like the people that I want to watch. Like I know tonight, my guys Top Flight were wrestling, and they were yesterday they were announced to by the Daily Observer, by the
Wrestling Observer?
Yeah, Wrestling Observer, that they were going to have a match with the Young Bucks tomorrow night, but then all of a sudden that got pushed back, and I'm trying to figure out why that happened, but that's like, I feel like AEW Dark is for people that just want more wrestling, that who want to watch more wrestling. I can't go into it and watch every show. It's just, I like it. Are they signing way too many people? I don't know. I see where Anakin's coming from with the tag team thing, but there's some great talent out there, and to an extent, they might get to that. I think eventually they're going to get to that WWE point where they have so much talent now that there's nothing they can do, especially if they're not touring. I mean, there's guys that you're not seeing. And by no means am I putting words in anybody's mouth. I'm just going based off what I see. I honestly think there's people getting frustrated already in AEW. We're just not seeing it because they're really close. But if you just if you think about the people that they've shown or the people they've signed, and we don't see as much, I think it's kind of crazy that we don't see Joey Janela more.
What do you mean? He was sitting in the stands on Saturday.
Yeah, sitting in it just looked weird. That's one thing, but I'm also talking I don't know. Maybe I'm just maybe this is just a bad week.
You don't want them to do. You don't want them to. Seems like you're saying you don't want them to do the NXT way of having new talent or certain talent sitting in the stands rather than having them in the ring being productive.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. And tying this back to WWE, I look at somebody like Chelsea Green, who I know can wrestle, and they don't have anything for her, week in, week out. They haven't done anything for her. They brought Carmella back, and they put her right in there with Sasha, which is fine, but we already know she's not going to be taking the title from Sasha. So this is just a filler for a couple of months. But going back is they do all these matches and they don't like, I'm kind of going all over the place now, but AEW, I'm like getting frustrated now because there's so many things I want to say without trying to curse.
You can curse all you want.
Yeah, but I'm trying not to. Nobody's sponsoring me this month, but from not cursing, but I'm still trying to do my best.
And that's all for Mr. Ron Patel. Thank you, by the way, for the chocolate that's sitting on my counter.
Oh, by the way, I think that guy.
I still haven't eaten those yet. I haven't tried them yet. I put them in the I put them in the fridge because he told me to put in the fridge, and I forgot about them. So I will get to them, Ron. I promise.
But the thing is I see where you're coming from. Like the women's build was awful. I think they could do better. I don't know why Britt Baker was not.
I have to laugh at this.
Yeah, I don't know why Britt Baker wasn't. This should have been Britt Baker's pay-per-view. In my opinion, she should have been the one wrestling Sheeta.
Is she 100% clear?
If she's not, she shouldn't be wrestling at all.
She seems to be fine. I don't think they wanted to go that route yet because I think they want to build Britt to take the title from whoever. So
yeah.
I think she's going to take it from Sheeta. I think she's going to take it, and I'm hoping that when it happens, that's what the turnaround is for that title, because Britt by this point is too big of a star to be sidelined for several weeks, because literally every single women's champion we've had so far, Rio, Nyla, and Sheeta, they've gone a couple of 2 to 3 weeks at least without being seen. Britt is way too big to be doing that, and especially because as Britt said in the video game announcement tonight, she was the first female talent signed. She's been positioned from day one to be the big star of the division. You put the title on her, you cannot be sidelining her for a week or two. She needs to be seen on a very regular basis, and I think that's when the title itself is going to be seen more prominently. I really like Sheeta. I like her work. She puts on great matches. I just don't think that AEW has the confidence in her to really elevate that title to where it really needs to be. I think they do have it in Britt, and so whenever that match happens, Britt's taking the title. That was really loud.
You were getting that drink in there.
That was really loud.
Sorry.
That was like, what the hell was that?
You should hear me chugging a beer. It's worse.
Yeah.
I forgot I didn't have the mic. The things we do on camera.
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell is that?
I was wondering at first. So, well, on that note, I do gotta get going, guys. I have to leave for work in about 20 minutes, and so I gotta get my son to bed. But it's good talking with you guys.
And Anakin just announced he's baking all us cookies because we got chocolate now.
I don't have chocolate cookies. I don't have a good recipe for that, man. You can go to the store and buy some Oreos. Or buy the little things where it like the Toll House stuff where you just separate them and put them in the oven.
And there's the queen.
Hannah can make you cookies. Hannah will
make you chocolate Stevens cookies, man.
Hannah will make you chocolate cookies.
All hail the queen.
Hi.
All hail the queen.
What's
all right. See you guys later.
See you, buddy.
Just in the nick of time to talk about oh my god. So why don't we talk about NXT this week, since Hannah made it perfectly in time.
I want to talk about Hannah
watching the show either, so I don't know what's been said.
we were talking about the announcement about AEW and stuff.
I paid no attention to that, so it's a good thing I wasn't on.
And we were talking about the video games and stuff like that and the Full Gear, but since you perfectly made it in time for exactly the right time, what did you think about NXT this week?
Last week, you always ask me that 6 days after, like I'm supposed to remember.
Could barely remember what happened yesterday.
That's why Hulu's should be everybody's best friend.
I have Hulu Live though, so I watch it when it's on. What happened? Was that the week that what's his face cut the promo, and then they beat up Drake and
Yeah.
what's his face
With camera.
Yeah.
The opening match was really good with Dakota and Ember, though. That was really good.
Yeah. So I actually started late, so I had missed half of that match. But what I saw of that was really good. And like the promo that he cut, if that was from anybody else, I would have been like, oh my God, this is awful. But from him, I thought it was funny and I enjoyed it. Could not tell you anything else that happened on that show, but it's been 6 days and I watched half of Raw last night and I remember none of it. So, and yes, I turned Raw. That was the first time in I don't know how long, I turned it off. I couldn't do it.
I turned it off too. I had enough. I was just like, I need a break. Otherwise, I'm going to scream.
I always, even if I'm not paying attention to it, I always just leave it on. And because it's on we're Central Time, so it's on 7 to 10 for us. At 9 o'clock, I was like, I'm done with this. So I messaged Sean about something actually on it this morning, and he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And one of my friends had said that Adam Pearce got beat up by someone. And I said, who? I said, who? And he said, the 3 most dangerous letters in sports entertainment. And I said, MVP. And so I sent the screenshot to Sean, and he was like, I don't understand. And then he was like, I forgot you didn't watch it. And I said, I couldn't do it. It was so bad. Like when they cut from Lana to the veterans thing, back to Lana, back to why Lana was out there, and then to commercial, and then back to Lana again. I was like, I'm done with this. I cannot. This is absurd. But
so,
I'm excited for NXT tomorrow.
Yeah, I am too. Are you guys officially done with the whole Lana through a table thing?
No, I think it's great. But to an extent, I think what they're doing is they're going to build her for Survivor Series, and
I think she's going to be the last person.
Yeah.
I would be
somebody
surprised.
just took off, but
Okay, so that wasn't me
this is the slings and arrows of living in a city, and my sister wants the windows open because it's 75 degrees here in Massachusetts in the middle of
It's 80 degrees here today. I'm in shorts.
Oh crap, man, we got snow here today.
You can't hear my kids, can you?
Yeah,
we can. But no, we had snow up here.
Like doing the show. It's all of us as friends shooting the shit and just
go in the other room. Get away.
But
the content I'm here for.
Yeah. I mean, we did do a round table with Hannah's sons putting on masks for a while. So I mean,
true. And my other kid threw up in the middle of it. So
good to know.
Parenthood.
Parenthood explain. Well, actually, they're playing with a toy because Camden lost his first tooth today. So they got a toy. So they're playing with it right now.
Did Sean take it out? No, get him.
No, actually, I was outside raking leaves, and he was like, he opened the door and was like, Mama. And I'm like, what's wrong? He was eating popcorn, and it just came out. It wasn't even loose. It just came out while he was eating popcorn. He was in a panic. Sean will definitely try to fight my kids. He told me that he was extremely proud of me for threatening a child earlier.
Man, I'm surprised there isn't a warrant out for your arrest right now. Going and like heckling kids. Come on.
Oh, come on. Like I started it.
Secretly, I'm proud of you.
Well, honestly, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do if she comes over here because like I can't hit her. She's like 16.
Was anyone filming?
No.
That's your word against theirs.
When I said it, all these other kids were like looking around, like, what the hell's about to happen?
Well,
I'm an awful person.
No, you're not. It's just you're a parent and you have your own perspective of things. That's the best part about doing this stuff. But for me, the Lana through the table thing, Rob's right. I think it's Survivor Series, and we'll talk about that with Rob and Hannah next week. But to me, it's like, okay, you're repeating the same thing. It's the definition of insanity. You're repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
It's not funny anymore. And I know, like I said, that at this point, it's like painful to watch. And someone was like, but that's the point. They're wanting everybody to really sympathize with her, and I guess they're trying to make her like a big baby face. I just don't like know where they're gonna go after Survivor Series with it. Like, are we gonna have her feud with Nia? Because I promise you, I have no interest in seeing that at all. So,
well, I'm hoping. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joel.
I was gonna say, here's how I deal with wrestling. And it's thanks to Matt McCarthy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was a writer for WWE. He now has a podcast called We Watch Wrestling. And him and his buddy, Vince Averill, they watch a lot of stuff. Now it's a lot of Japan, New Japan.
Vince.
And exactly. And they're really hysterical folks. They used to have a third co-host. His name was Tom Sibley. They started the podcast because Tom was a brand new wrestling fan. So it was like Matt and Vince telling their side of wrestling history and just giving all the information to Tom, who was a new fan, learning about the business. And Matt had the inside track of WWE and having worked there as a writer. So my favorite thing that sticks out of my head is whenever Matt tells a story about Vince McMahon, not only puts on the fake Vince McMahon voice, but he also
as everyone does.
As everyone does. And everyone took it from Brian Gewirtz. And Brian's is like the worst Vince McMahon impression ever. So everyone does it. It's wonderful. So Vince McMahon's whole storytelling procedure is, goddamn, pal, you got to take him for a ride. So everything you do is you take him for a ride.
That was perfect timing with the Packers.
Yeah.
So for the first 2 weeks, everyone was like, I feel bad for Lana. Oh my God, this is awful. This is because of Miro, blah, blah, blah. And then after 3-4, they were like, oh my God, I get it now that we're supposed to feel this way. They're going to stretch it out as far as they can, but at Survivor Series, it's going to be the end of it because goddamn, pal, we're going to take them for a ride.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I think Lana will be sole survivor. It is her redemption story. And I joked about this on my podcast months ago, saying this is going to land in our laps as Lana's big redemption story. And she's going to win the title in main event WrestleMania. And I was like, maybe that's too far, but it's going to land in that echelon. It's going to be a big thing.
Yes. And I do think that she deserves something because she has worked her ass off for years without really she was one of the biggest draws fan wise for a while. She was so over. She was more over than Rusev was. And she's really worked hard to improve too. She's not freaking Eva Marie, who is she's worked hard, and she may not be great, but a lot of other women wrestlers aren't great and they still get chance after chance. So I really think that she should get something. I don't need to see her go through any more tables. And I know we will next Monday, but I don't need to see any more.
It'll end at the Survivor Series when Team Raw puts Nia through a table.
Other room.
And there's the game god.
Oh my God, Hannah's here. Oh, I'm out. No. Bye.
Oh my God, I did not sign up for this.
Me neither.
It's
Go
just
smack
timing.
your kids, please.
I just threatened them. I don't know what else you want me to do. There's only so
Smack
many
'em,
threats I can do when I'm live on the air.
Yeah, I just told you to smack them.
Just mute it, turn off the camera, come back, and we don't need to know what happened.
Oh, did you see the stare I was giving Reed earlier? That was the I'm gonna beat your ass if you don't go in the other room stare. They just drove
What's going on?
They just drove their truck
Oh,
into a mousetrap.
So since we have Jeremy on and with that announcement, and Rob has to scoot-a-daddle, so Rob, we'll see you next week.
Peace. Hey,
Bye,
Jeremy.
Rob, with your terrible. No,
Look at that
don't
head.
even, no,
Look at that.
No, I
Look
didn't
at
even want
this.
to acknowledge
It's
it.
fantastic. I didn't even know you were going to be on, so this is perfect. But
How many
everybody
cups
else,
y'all got?
I,
You got any cups?
I got one for you right here.
Whoa.
Saved up his swear jar just for this.
Wow. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. But, yeah, well. So with that announcement today, and obviously you're on the Fightful show, and I was trying to ask this, do you think the frame rates on that game are going to be substantial with the consoles being out now?
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I don't think that game's coming out until this time next year at the
That's what I'm
earliest.
thinking.
It seems like it's very, very early. Like the footage they showed looked like CGI footage, not like actual gameplay footage. So, I mean, what they showed was cool, but I don't have like super high expectations for it based on that. I need to see actual like gameplay footage.
So what
Yeah.
exactly were the announcements? Because I didn't pay attention. Once I saw him dressed up like Steve Jobs, I was out.
Dude, that would have been a cool bit if they started at 6 o'clock and not 6:45. But because they were 45 minutes late, I was like, can y'all just make these announcements? I don't have time for your BT sketches.
It was a pre-recorded video too.
Yeah.
That's what I love.
Oh my god!
It's like you didn't plan your upload speeds.
Yes.
You didn't plan for that.
What is that? Exactly. They do this all the time. But like the buy-in, they've gotten better about it. But like last year, every time they did the buy-in, it was always the wrong link. It's like, what are y'all doing? But they announced the GM mobile game, which they announced the GM mobile game, which which looks okay, I guess. And then they announced the casino game that I'll never play.
Not even
mobile
see,
games,
I
basically.
saw Sean say something about like he had no interest in, I think, the casino one.
Yeah, the casino game. We were all like, we're out on this.
Oh god. Are you comfortable?
You got people. I mean, people are going to play it if they're not wrestling fans. If it's a money game, right?
Exactly. I mean, they'll have people playing it. It's a. Does he have a SpongeBob shirt?
No, it's Baby Shark.
Oh, okay.
Camden's the one that's into SpongeBob.
Oh, I mean, I'm still into SpongeBob, so that's dope.
Yeah, we watched every single episode of every single season a couple months ago.
Nice.
Quarantine's been very long.
Right.
Well, it was also, do you think this is going to, and I was saying this earlier, now since you're on, do you think this is going to force WWE to relook at their contract with 2K?
I don't know what their contract with 2K is. I assume it's pretty long. I don't think they're going to relook at it, but it'd be cool if they were like, hey, can you make us a halfway decent game? Like, that's really all I want.
I don't
think they do either, honestly.
Yeah.
If they cared, they would have. I said this on the show. Like, if they cared, they'd be knocking on Xavier's door every single day and being like, "Hey, help us make a good game." Like, that's who they would talk to. And they clearly just don't have interest
in their company that like used to make video games.
Yeah.
And they don't ask their inputs. So they do not care. As long as they have one coming out every year, they don't freaking care.
They have the market share. They have all of it. There's nothing else in that sphere for them that comes close. If AEW takes enough of the market share, which honestly I don't think it will, it's going to be, that'll be the game changer. But I don't expect it to change anything.
Yeah, I don't like. They give a free copy to all the employees and every employee, independent contractors, and every person that I know takes theirs to GameStop and trades it in for a different game.
So they get like a whole $3 out of that on a GameStop trade-in.
Yeah.
It's like all you get on a GameStop trade-in.
Yeah, but I mean, that's sad when the people that work for your company don't even want to play your game.
It's a bad game. It's a
Oh my
bad
God.
game.
Well, they got to update everything too. So, I mean, these games
Yeah.
have to get better over time with these consoles. So, I mean, this might have to force them to reevaluate certain aspects, you know?
I think the last game that I bought was the first Smackdown versus Raw on PlayStation 2. And the last one I probably actually played was Smackdown Shut Your Mouth.
That sounds about right. I think the last one I bought was the whatever one had Austin on the cover. And then that was the last one I played until I just...
Warzone?
Yeah, Warzone, right?
It's like even Warzone.
13,
Right.
14? It was one of those two.
that.
Had it. Yeah, that was like the last one I bought and played until I played like 18. I may have even played 20 for like a match or two just on a stream to test things out, but nothing significant.
I'm waiting
It's
for
a
the
terrible game.
PlayStation 5 that I have 0 games for.
Everyone's talking about the PlayStation 5. I didn't get mine. I didn't pre-order it. I think I'm just waiting. I'm trying to balance money and stuff right
Well,
now.
mine says it's arriving by Thursday and it hasn't shipped or charged yet. So we'll see.
Well, me and Jeremy talked about it about him waiting because he wants to update his system. I decided I'm going to wait until certain more games come out because the only game that's out there I want to play is Valhalla for Assassin's Creed. So why wait, play one game, finish it, and then just wait for more games in the next year? So I'm just going to sit back and save up and wait for it, especially if they're going to put more stuff out. I mean, the SD card for the Xbox is $200.
Pass.
I only play sports games, so it's like I'm just buying a PlayStation 5 just to play NBA 2K21, and I can just keep playing that on the PlayStation 4. Plus, as Joel knows, like I'm trying to save for a gaming PC as well, so I'm not trying to blow all of my money on a PlayStation 5 and a gaming PC. So I gotta balance out finances here.
I've gone more to the gaming PC side of things. Like I have a Steam account now, and I'm trying to figure out if there are any games that I really want to play, because most of what I do is emulation and retro gaming because it's what I enjoy. But I would be interested in getting into other games on Steam. It's got to be worth my while and worth my time.
Right. I've actually have a Steam account for about a long time, and that was during Counter-Strike Condition 0. Yeah, that's a long time.
All I do is play Among Us. That's it. I just play Among Us.
We played Among Us once. I played it with Caleb over the weekend, and I was the murderer, and I murdered everybody.
I played it in a stream the other night, and I was the imposter twice, and I won both times, and everybody quit. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not allowed to play anymore.
It sounds like an Uno game that people still talk about.
Wait, look, this Uno game that's become like lore, I just keep getting buried over this. I've cleared the air on this. I won.
You have.
And then that was it. We played one game. We could only finish one game because the servers suck.
That's what I was going to say. That has always been our issue. Like, one of us will get really far ahead, but we can't ever finish a game because the servers for it suck so bad. And so he would disconnect or I would disconnect, but it wouldn't show the other person they were disconnected. So you'd think we were still playing. And then we would be like, okay, I'm not in the game anymore. And we've literally only ever finished one game.
Yeah, and I happened to win that game, but they're like, "Oh,
Anakin, nobody wants to play Among Us with you."
I'll play. Like, just message me. I'm busy. That's why I was so late to this thing.
Everybody always messages me like when I'm working, and I can't play it when I'm working. Sadly,
I'm always Sean's a slave driver, having me work these crazy hours.
He's awful, terrible.
I've been playing Pokemon Go, so I mean, it's helping me a little bit, especially with the back pain and everything recently. But I still think that it's a possibility back to AEW that one of these days, one of these companies is going to look at the Unreal Engine and will almost have a close to life game as possible with one of these consoles. I mean, is that possible?
I don't want a close to life game. Like, I think what they're doing actually now, the graphics look pretty cool. It's almost like arcadey battlegrounds kind of thing. I think they'll actually tighten those up a little bit, but I want something arcadey. Like, let me jump off of helicopters and stuff like you could in the Smackdown versus Raw games. I'm not trying to, do a bunch of selling and whatnot. That's stupid in video games.
Yeah, I have carpal tunnel bad enough. I don't need to press a button 87,000 times.
Yes.
For something.
Tap X to get up 100 times. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Just let me get up. Nobody sells in AEW anyway.
Playroom or kitchen. Ooh. You're not playing it in here.
Great pay-per-view on Saturday, by the way.
Yeah, playroom or kitchen. Oh my god, you guys.
I'll bury Ricky Starks next.
Oh, you can do whatever you want here.
Burying me.
No, you're banned, Joel. You're banned.
You're not.
I make one comment that's gonna come true on Sunday, and y'all just go out.
I don't even remember the comment. I just know Sean banned you. What was the comment?
Tamina joining the Smackdown.
Oh, right.
Survivor Series team.
I banned you previously because you're throwing Elias slander out there. That's why you're actually banned. Is the Elias slander?
Get Bella on your show, and I will prove you wrong.
Who?
The producer, the Def Rebel producer, Bella.
Look, I'll reach out to him, but they ain't coming on my show. We got the Big Show. The Big Show's out here liking the tweets that we sent. The open invitation. Yeah, he liked the tweets. I was like, dude, just come on the show. I mean, it was probably a good idea. He didn't because that movie sucked, but
that's probably why he didn't.
He's like, I ain't talking about. I was like, I really want to ask
time in
him.
my life.
I really want to ask him, like, so what's your motivation for a scene where you have to run to the back of a bus, shitting your pants, and then you get stuck in the toilet? You know, method acting on that. But yeah, he liked the tweets, but never
That's his
responded to come on the
motivation.
show. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least, with gaming, it's getting bigger. It seems like the more stuff that's coming out, the more Fightful is actually gearing towards. Do you think when this game comes out, there'll be a whole, landscape with wrestling games overall, and WWE will have a new game coming out at some point?
I mean, at some point they'll have a new game. I imagine they'll have a new game next year. I don't know what it'll be, but they'll have a new game next
It'll
year.
be something terrible.
They'll release WWE NXT, and they'll release it 2 weeks before the AEW.
Yes. That's exactly what's going to happen.
That's perfect. I agree.
Exactly what's going to happen.
Triple H will come out and say, "Ooh, we were always planning to do this. We had
Yeah.
we had Ukes first."
It'll be called WWE the Gold brand.
Oh boy.
Gold Express. It'll be called WWE The Way.
Oh my god.
What is this? The way thing? What is
Oh,
this?
Is this like Uganda Knuckles
select
all over
article
again?
today.
Let me show you the way. I was like, is that all now that they're starting? It's got to show you the way.
I know it was a fastball song.
That's what I put out.
Yeah.
I thought it was
I was-
Uganda Knuckles.
Royal Rumble The Way.
There's
No idea. They just trademark
freaking
everything.
telling. Literally, just something comes to Vince's mind. Trademark that.
Yeah.
Like, we might use that one day. You need to.
Well, I mean, this has been a fun week anyways. I want to thank you guys. We're going to head out and enjoy it. Thank you for Jeremy showing up as
Thank you.
talk about gaming as quick as you could. But I know you've been going crazy with all the stuff. Also appreciate you being on last week and stuff. Same with Hannah and Joel. You guys always do amazing job, major stuff. Hannah will be on next week. We're going to talk about Survivor Series and stuff. Jeremy had an amazing.
Than I am now.
Jeremy had an amazing. Oh, come on.
Oh.
Yeah.
This was my way. Yeah, that was my way, not the way.
No, but when I was growing up in high school, people would be like, "Hey, it's Fred Durst walking around," and I'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But
You pull off the Fred Durst look. You just need the Yankees cap.
crap, no.
Oh god. Oh god.
No.
You need the red Yankees cap.
But yeah, no Yankees cap. I'll send you a Red Sox cap and make you wear it. Actually, we've already discussed this on the podcast. I cannot send anything that's $15 or less for bets. But go see Joel's stuff. Tim and Joel in the Ring every Thursday, 8:00. Also part of PW Insider. Miss Hannah.
Unlimited. Next time, Mike Johnson will come after me.
You unlimited.
I'd love to
I was like, when did you join PW Insider? Nice.
Well,
Watch
the way
out.
things like you said everybody's growing, everybody's doing stuff. Jeremy, you're doing the gaming for Fightful also, one of the major contributor writers. Hannah is the queen of Fightful.
I'm the queen of something. I don't freaking know what I'm the queen of at this point.
Fighting 16-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Fighting
apparently.
children. I don't know.
one of the contributors to the show, and I appreciate it. You've got DK in the chat. I'm pleased to announce, as of 2021, using StreamYards for this channel, DK will be doing a show on the channel for me periodically, kind of like what Jeremy does for this distraction. I'm going to give DK and whoever he chooses freedom on this channel to do whatever they feel like. Or me and him are talking about setting up his own, just, and producing it or something like that. But DK will be doing a YouTube show eventually in 2021.
DK, Fightful After Dark. You know where to find me.
Oh my god. What, honey?
That would be funny, actually, if that actually happened.
Talking about the love life of every single writer for Fightful.
I'm blocking
There ain't much there. There ain't much
I'm
there.
blocking all of you.
I don't write for Fightful. All right, I'm just here to pitch things.
But we could pull this off. Sean, I wanted to do the game stream on Saturday. By the way, anybody listening, we're streaming games, Joel and I, on Saturday night. And Sean, I'll put this out there. Sean was just like, you can smoke dope on stream on Saturday night if you want. And I was just like,
oh, he said that. He said that last night on the air.
Oh, really?
Like,
on the roster
when he was on with Louie, he was like, yeah, I mean, when they're not on like review shows, I don't care if they want to drink or, smoke, as long as they don't say anything too outrageous. I'm like, what is happening right now?
I messaged him. I was like, hey, can we game stream on Saturday night? And he's just like, you can smoke dope on stream Saturday night. I don't care. And I was like, well, why do you think I turned the camera off for the game streams? Because that's exactly what I'm doing.
He does, as long as you leave him alone on Saturday night.
Yeah, pretty much.
Care.
Pretty much.
Context,
that's how I feel too.
How would I
the
know?
context was Talking Shop Mania. That was the whole reason why he brought it up.
Oh yeah. Talking Shop Mania. I don't know if they recommend you watch that show without a clear mind. So between the Smackdown review and the Talking Shop live review, I might have to, dabble in something to watch Talking Shop.
Attaboy.
After that announcement about DK getting his own thing, Anakin's already bribing him.
Multiple people on the show.
Go
true.
Brother.
But go check out Jeremy and Joel on Saturday. I'll be watching, be running around like a crazy person also. Hannah will be with me, Rob, and Wild Boy doing Survivor Series part of the week that's going to be dedicated to my mom. I already recorded with Wild Boy, and that podcast to kick it off will be on Saturday. And then, Jeremy had his special edition Taylor Swift podcast with me, which everybody is loving the intro and the outro and stuff. Everybody tells me, who's that guy that loves Taylor Swift? I'm like, and then I point out to your stuff. So
I can't open this with one hand.
Okay, that's a problem.
Can you hold this for me and I'll open it?
I'm watching Hannah just parent on stream, which is tremendous.
Oh, well, there's Reed.
What's up, buddy?
This is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
But check out all these guys. Hannah, I appreciate you and Joel and Jeremy all the time. Go check out their stuff. They'll be streaming Saturday. And then, Jeremy's got the distraction coming up on Thursday also at 7:00, right? Like usual.
No, we're live at 3 now. I think. I don't know. Our schedule changes. Sean's like, do what you want. And then I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. So yeah, 3:00 on Thursdays. We're live now. We couldn't compete with Joel anymore. We kept going into his podcast. And so we were like, we got to give him a break. We don't want to cut 30 minutes into his show.
Well, that first round table with Hannah, Rob, and everybody popping in, and DK was here, and you and Joel are like, they're still going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were trying to game stream that night, and we're like, oh, we'll wait for them to finish up.
That was probably my fault.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh no, that's probably gonna end up happening.
I'll blame you though. If you're offering up that we can blame you, then I'll 100%
totally
blame you.
down to accept blame for like everything, because that's what happens when you don't care.
Tremendous.
So December, I'm gonna announce, if these motorcycles can stop driving behind me, that December for that roundtable will be ladies only roundtable that I'll be hosting. Going to reach out to the Sheenom. I was going to ask Kayla, who is Queen of Wrestling. I'm going to ask Hannah if she wants to do it. It's going to be women discussing about wrestling, but also from their perspective, because a lot of times us guys, we look at it differently. So hope everything that actually happens. If not, then I'll figure something out for the roundtable. But at the end of the night, check out these guys. They do really good stuff. Check out their Twitter and everything. Do a good deed, pay it forward. Thank you guys so much for being here. Joel, thank you for being patient, especially with me chugging a whole half a bottle of soda.
I do it too.
Just not loudly.
No, this mic's pretty good at not picking up everything.
My AirPods are not. They are not.
But like I said, do a good deed, pay it forward. Thank you, Jeremy, Hannah, and Joel. Thank you guys for being around. Check out Fightful. Check out, Jeremy and Sean batting each other.
Batting each other.
Yeah,
what they're doing what?
Yeah, what are we doing to each other?
Is this a new show? Is it a Patreon exclusive?
I will totally super chat that.
Go ahead. I get paid Friday, so I'll just probably do it. But combating each other, talking about Smackdown, and I don't know, maybe there's more Sting stuff coming down the pike, Jeremy. I don't know.
That was a one-off for Halloween. That face paint took way too long.
Jeremy's very lucky he gets to be on the Smackdown post show and not the Raw.
Yeah, we actually last night we came to an agreement to where Carlos and I were rotating weeks because nothing happens on Raw, and so we can easily do the articles ourselves. And now from now on, I can actually take Mondays off and not have to watch Raw, and I can just catch up with YouTube clips. That show sucks. Just a god awful show.
Yeah, I just watched Sean's review today with Louie to catch up on what happened after I went to bed.
Coward going to bed.
I was watching Twitch streams actually. I wasn't actually asleep, but that was preferred over Raw.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I watched all of it.
Do not.
Well,
just a terrible show.
Well, Raw is always horrible. I did a 30-minute rant on that. And on that note, have a good deed, pay it forward. Have a good night, guys. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you, all three of you being here. Anakin being on, Rob. I mean, we had a huge video game announcement, and I'm hoping, everybody talks about the consoles more so than, Raw, basically. Yeah. So, all right, guys, have a good one. Bye.